So I have my list of instances. I have two. I've got my Markwards in Windows Server and I've got my Markwards in Ubuntu Server. We know that for Windows, we would use the remote desktop protocol to connect to that Windows server, and that would give us the graphical user interface. It's kind of a pain though, because you have to download that remote desktop file. Then you have to open it, log in. It's going to prompt you for the username, which is administrator by default, and the password, which you have to decrypt by uploading your private key file, all that stuff. Well, it's going to be much easier using Linux here. So I'm going to click this refresh instances button. It'll load the status of all my instances. I just want to make sure that my Ubuntu server has passed all of its status checks, and it has 3 out of 3 passed. So that's good to go. So I'm going to connect to it. And this is going to be pretty simple. All I'm going to do is just make sure that only that Ubuntu server is checked. You don't have any other EC2 instance checked. Click that connect button just above it. And now it's going to give us several options for how we're going to connect. Only one of these is really going to be useful for us. And it's this EC2 instance connect. Now our server does have a public IP address. What is it? Like we don't really need to know it. Amazon's going to figure it out, but it's listed there. The username, we don't have to touch it. Everything is good. As long as we're on this EC2 instance connect, we're good to go. And we can just click connect. It's going to open up a new tab. And in this new tab, you see it's establishing a connection. We will get this command line interface to our Ubuntu server. There's some information here which you don't have to read it, but it's just telling you some basic information about your server. Down here at the bottom, we will have this command line interface prompt here. This is where we can type commands that will run on this Linux computer. This is a command line interface. Now, Linux distributions, different flavors of Linux, do come with graphical user interfaces, but we have used a version here specifically that does not come with a graphical user interface. It works just fine, but there's no start menu. There's no windows we can drag around. We will work with this by typing commands. So I just want to very briefly explore a little bit of how we would interact with this server. One thing to note is that the IP address of my server listed here in my command line interface might differ from the IP address in some of these instructions. That's just because when we create this server, we let Amazon assign it somewhat randomly. There's a range of values that Amazon can choose from, and it picks it. So if your numbers don't match, don't worry about it. There are a few commands we can run. So P, W, D. No vowels here. That prints our current working directory. So Linux, just like Windows, has the concept of folders and files. So my working directory prints this /home/Ubuntu directory. So think of home like the user's directory. So I'm in the directory for the Ubuntu user, for example. If these commands don't make a whole lot of sense, don't worry. We will go over all of these commands later in more depth. We're just doing some proof of concept use here. So who am I? Don't put any spaces there. Just mash all those words together, hit enter. That says like, what user account am I currently logged in with? It's Ubuntu. We could also see that in our prompt there, but occasionally that is useful. We can list files, and there's not going to be much in here. ls is the list command, and it looks like it's empty. If I ls to list, but I put a space, a dash, and then a l, that will list all the files, including the hidden ones, in a long format. So I'm going to press enter, and I can see I've got a couple of a couple of directories, couple of files there. I can change my working directory with the cd command. So if I cd space /, that will take me to the root of my file system. So if I ls to list the files and directories at the root, the output is different. So I've got dev for devices. I've got this etc directory, and in that etc directory, we would store configuration files. We saw that home folder, that's where the Ubuntu user folder was stored. Lots of different folders here, and if none of this makes any sense just yet, don't worry about it. It just takes some time to learn what all these folders are for, but this is how Linux organizes programs, data files, all this stuff on your computer is organized in these folders. If I want to go back to my home directory, there's a few ways I can do that. One of my favorites is cd space and then the tilde character. That tilde is a shortcut for my home directory. So it's like, please go home, go home. If I do that, I can type pwd again to print my working directory, and I'm back in /home/Ubuntu. Okay, that's a very, very crash course on using Linux. We'll spend a lot of time working with this interface and getting used to Linux. And the next part, we'll talk about, okay, if I'm done using Linux now, like what do I do to make sure everything's saved? Like there's no save button. There's no buttons in this user interface anywhere. So we'll go over what happens when you stop your lab, when you start your lab, how can you reconnect and keep going where you left off.